to NOYCE CONVO, brought to you by Voice Entertainment. Let's dive right in. Today in the studio we have Shiv, aka Shiva Moon.
Shiva Moon.
Shiva Moon, how are you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
How was your experience playing at Voice Studios?
It was actually really fun. I was a bit nervous in the beginning, only because we were playing on Denons. I know I'm the Denon distributor and everything, but there's always a bit of drama that happens with these players, only because like people are still getting used to them and this and that. Luckily, had no problems. Figured out a couple of things also that I shared with other DJs as well, and I think this should help them also with their sets. And yeah, it was good fun, man. Had a blast, and the setup was great.
Do you think you faced a lot of challenges with Denons versus Pioneers?
Oh, not necessarily. I've been like DJing for like 27 years. And the thing is that even like 25 years back, Denon was like the only player you could get. And then Pioneer came a few years later or whatever. So the thing is, I think we've been playing for a long time. You eventually know a bunch of things that can help you kind of like navigate issues and problems or whatever. And yeah, I don't think I had a mega issue, one or two small things, but yeah, could manage.
And now that you're in Goa, are you based out of Goa?
Yeah, I've been here almost like 5 years now. I've been living here on and off for almost like 12, 13 years, but this time 5 years at a stretch, yeah.
Would you say that you're stuck in Goa?
Stuck in Chapora. Completely. I live in Chapora, I'm stuck in Chapora and stuck in Goa and like happy to be here. Goa was like my kind of like, I've lived in most cities of India and everything. I've lived abroad, whatever, but Goa was like always been like on my list of places to like kind of like settle down and live in. Kind of have a quiet life, village life, and yeah, this is where I am, and I'm happy to be here.
When did you get stuck in Chapora?
I've been stuck in Chapora for a long time, but yeah, like I said, 2019. So 2020, sorry. Yeah.
When did you move? Where did you move from?
I moved from Chennai, so I lived in Chennai.
Was it a lockdown move?
It was a proper lockdown move, completely. Like I actually lost my shit in Chennai. Like pretty much, work had completely dried up. Also had like loans and freaking home loans and this and that, and it was very hard to manage. And I said, okay, Goa will at least give me a simpler life. I can find cheaper accommodation, cost of living is lower. And this is why I moved in the pandemic. And yeah, I'm still happy with the way the situation is. And I don't think I'll be moving back anywhere soon. Yeah.
Do you think when you first came to Goa, has the this cost of living changed?
For sure. It's actually, in the last few years, I think the cost of living goes up almost about 20 to 25%. I'm actually into real estate as well. So I'm pretty aware of like kind of pricing and rental values and property values and this and that and whatever. I run a couple of Airbnbs. But yeah, it's actually a bit through the roof right now. The good thing is, I think this season we saw a bit of a correction, a little less footfall of tourists, a lot of like Thailand versus Goa bashing that kind of happened. And all that. And Goa definitely saw, I think, a 25-30% correction in terms of footfall. But I don't see it as a detrimental thing to go. I think it was actually quite good. We also don't need like thousands and thousands of people like flocking the roads and like, mass chaos happening. So I think this year was actually quite nice in its own way. And business goes on.
As a real estate person, did that affect the less amount of footfall? Did that affect your business?
Not necessarily. I would say, yeah, to a certain extent. I felt like this year the pricing that we kind of had was way more like 15-20% less than we had the previous year. So yeah, in that way or whatever, but not in some mega way. It's not like I did not have any bookings or whatever. Anyway, like real estate is no connection to music. So let's go back to music.
Since you've been here for 5 years, what do you think about the Goa music scene?
It's actually very different now. The things have been coming to Goa like since 98, 99. Been part of the psytrance scene, one of the old psytrance DJs of Goa, played at Hilltop and all these venues and from the early days itself, like 2003, 2004. And I feel it's changed a lot. The good thing, what I like about Goa now is that there's a lot more variety in music. You have a lot of live bands. I also run a small bar called Groove 42. It's in Vagator near Mango Tree. And we do a lot of live bands, we do DJs, whatever. But I feel like now the music scene in Goa is actually much better. Earlier it was just like psytrance. Then after psytrance became psytrance and techno. And now I feel like there's like reggae, like Sunsplash happens. There's a lot of live music happening. Live bands are getting the due recognition they deserve, getting paid better, this and that. So I feel the Goa music scene is definitely changed from this whole Disco Valley, hilltop, bamboo forest kind of vibe that was predominantly what it was 20 years back. And now it's like like the Arambol and Mandrem and Rehab, and there's so many venues now doing good stuff. And yeah,
Because you named some of the few from that time, Paradiso, Bamboo Forest,
yeah,
Disco Valley,
Shore Bar.
Shore Bar. If you could get one culture back from then, what would it be?
Interesting, actually. I would love for like more day parties to happen. I would say back in the day, like a lot of guys, like because maybe they didn't have permissions or maybe whatever, or this and that or whatever, there were like some amazing day parties that would happen. And I'm always a big fan of partying in the day versus partying at night. And no, I like even psytrance, night music, and all that stuff, and play all that or whatever. But like, yeah, these all day parties that used to happen pretty much just on the side of the road, or like Anjana Shiva Temple, or Bamboo Forest, or whatever. Like, yeah, these are the fun ones. So the thing is that the night was like more crazy, but then like in the day, like all the idiots and the alcoholics and the boozers and everybody would like be weeded out because they couldn't stand the sun and everything. And then the day is like when you actually see the whole like movement and community and people who just like to dance in the sunshine.
Since playing since then,
Mm.
what is the has your sound evolved since the
Yeah,
beginning?
completely. I would say like I actually started off like when I started, it was like not even so much psytrance and everything. It was like more like kind of like this whole like global underground. I lived in Los Angeles. I studied there, and that's where I really got into music and started DJing. And that time was more like kind of like we could call it Euro trance or whatever it was. So that was the it was like Sasha, Digweed, Paul Oakenfold, Yevo. And then came to Goa for the first time to party. I've been here as a kid, but came to Goa for the first time to party. I think somewhere in like 97 or 98. And then I caught the psytrance wave that was happening over here. And then I just went nuts over it. I would go back to America. I'm like, bro, you have to check out this music called psytrance. And I would like spend my whole life. Luckily, we had like fast internet in my college. So I would like download tracks all day and this and that. That's how I got into it. And then finally, like, yeah, I started playing in Goa roughly about 2000, 2001 when I moved back to India. Yeah, 2001.
Is your trip to Goa the time you realized, damn, this is exactly what I want to do?
Oh, yeah, kind of.
When
Like, and
was that?
I would say, yeah, that,
Aha.
yeah, no, that exactly. That was meant to be pretty much a real estate guy, work in construction and property development. That was what I was kind of like my family business and everything. And then, yeah, Goa really gave that aha moment. And then I finished my degree in Los Angeles. And then I chose to come back to India. And I was one of the first students of the School of Audio Engineering in Chennai, SAE, which is actually a great hub for musicians around India to actually come and learn a new subject like audio engineering. So even guys like Kamchor, Boom Baba, multiple guys, we're all like my classmates, and we all like part Tuhin Mehta, all part of that first kind of like few batches from SAE. And yeah, that really I think Goa was the aha moment or wow moment. And then I was like, yeah, I want to be in music. I was like, I will still do like my real estate stuff and work from 9 to 5. I have to pay my bills and everything. But yeah, Goa was the place that made me change my mind.
Do you think, as a musician, you find it difficult to manage financial stability?
Oh, I think it actually, I would say no, only because I would say I had a very early start. I also did not have much competition when I started. Like I said, so like me, Ashwin, Tarun, maybe like, I think there was like maybe 15 DJs in the whole country. So at one point for like my first 5, 6 years or whatever, I was pretty much playing in like every city in India every weekend because of the lack of DJs. That definitely helped. I definitely helped me make money and realize that I did not need to work 9 to 5, maybe if I didn't want to. Somewhere in my early late 20s, early 30s, I went into music full time. I was like, I'm not going to work 9 to 5. Did that for 8, 9 years. But then also what happens is now I find the competition is much more. There are a lot more DJs, this and that. So which is why I need to be more diversified in the kind of work I do. I also work with like Denon and other brands, Native, etc., Rain, UDG gear, etc., whatever. And yeah, so the thing is, you need to be kind of like diversified. You cannot only depend on people giving you gigs. I think it's the worst thing that you can actually do. There's multiple ways to make money in the music industry. And yeah, it does not have to be only DJing. And I think everybody should explore multiple avenues. And so just because the DJs have a very small shelf life, man. Like I said, one day you're famous, today you could be nobody's interested in you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to like handle those things and stuff.
You have been playing since the 90s.
Pretty much, yeah.
From the first from one of the few DJs that used to be there
Yeah.
to now there's been a lot of DJs. How do you keep pushing yourself forward to continue this journey?
Good question. The funny thing with me is that I would say I'm not one of those competitive guys. So I would say like in my last 5, 6 years, I've actually kind of taken a backseat. I ran a very successful festival for 10 years. A lot of, big DJs played there.
If they want to know which festival you ran.
Yeah, it's called Go Madras. So Go Madras is actually the second oldest festival in India. Sunburn was created, I think, in 2008. And then I created Go Madras along with my partners, Tuhin and Hema, in 2009 March. And we were the second oldest like music festival. The first Sunburn, I think, had 600 people. The first Go Madras had like 1,100 people. And then Sunburn became Sunburn, and they have like enough money and Percept and this and that or whatever. And we were like more of a kind of just a South Indian festival with a lot of crowd from Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pondi, this, that. And we kind of built on that. And we also focus a lot on like kind of like our Indian artists who like, I believe were just like kind of like in the early stages of their career, like an Ash Roy or a Kamcho, Jalebi Cartel, Arjun Wagle, all like contemporaries and close friends. And we really use that network of great musicians to really build something. So I would say like the credit for the festival is not only mine or my partners or whatever. It was pretty much everybody was like involved in that scene. And even like the decor people, Hybrid UV started off around the same time. Now they do Hilltop and all that stuff.
When you were, what made you plan a whole festival around music?
Oh yeah, so this is a pretty. I've been asked this question a bunch of times. The whole thing is that I was always into
Do you
like.
hate this question?
No, I don't actually. It's actually a straightforward answer. I've always been organizing parties since I started DJing. The thing is that in the early days, you had to be a promoter as well as a DJ. You can't just expect people to book you because nobody organized parties back then. So yeah, I started off like that, and then I realized that just doing the same like every weekend a different party with a different name and a different lineup, whatever, did not really have any kind of like recollection or brand connection with anybody. I was like, dude, now like even then, like what a Boom Festival started. I played in Europe a fair bit, Full Moon Festival, Antares, this, that, whatever. And that really inspired me. So actually playing in Europe, I think, inspired me to create a festival. Yeah.
Since you've been playing for all of these festivals, outside and inside, what do you think is the difference in scene from outside as well as inside?
Dude, I think India has the best vibe, man. Like just in terms of like, I think Indian artists like play what Indian people like. And India, like Goa, like nothing beats the vibe over here. Like whether it's a techno party, psytrance party, reggae party, blah, blah. It's the most cosmopolitan, chilled out atmosphere. And I think you can't mess with India with that vibe. I've been to Europe, I've been to multiple festivals or whatever, but it's nothing compared to like the experiences I've had in Goa and around India, even Kasol, the mountains, and even other cities in India.
Do you remember your first gig?
No, yeah, man. My first gig would have been like when I was in like.
What was the experience?
No, so I'll tell you, like it's like my first gig would have been like when I was in high school or something. So I was always the music guy in school. And the thing is that we used to do like legendary parties, even when like 14, 15, 16. And things like parents would go out of town, it would be like New Year's or Christmas or some shit. And I would like round up, even before studying sound engineering or whatever, I would like round up like all my friends, like parents, like hi-fi speakers. And I was the only guy who would be able to link like multiple amps and like 7, 8 speakers. So we would not have enough money to like rent sound and all. So we'd collect the whole neighborhood and like all our friends and family speakers. And I would link them all up to multiple amps. And then, yeah, use like two Walkman or two, what are those called? Discmen connected into a mixer, shit like that. Yeah, that's how I started.
You said that the musician also needed to be a promoter at that time.
Correct.
They still need to do that.
No, they don't. Difference? They don't.
Why do you say that?
No, because the thing is, there's a lot of people who have just taken on this promoter role, and it's also a very difficult role. And the thing is that musicians today do not see any value in that. You can either be a promoter, you can be a musician today.
Do you think you have to market yourself better as a musician today, or was it a little easier then?
For sure, yeah. As in, like today, it's like it's the Insta era, and even Facebook is like outdated or whatever, blah blah. So yeah, it's all about image and how you look. And so I'm really not into that, to be honest. I even my Instagram profile is on private because I really just like don't care. You know what I'm saying? So
if somebody wants to follow your art or your style or your profile at this point, where do you think would be the best site to portray your collection?
No, I think there's enough platforms. I would say like as long as you're using the conventional SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Spotify, etc., YouTube, whatever. Yeah, this is pretty much the tried and tested way, and using shorter things on Insta and Facebook to help promote that.
Your name, Shiva Moon.
Yeah.
What does it mean, and why Shiva Moon?
Okay, so it's interesting. So basically, my name is Shiv now. It's officially Shiv. So I was.
What was it before?
Yeah, it was Shivendra. So now the whole thing is it means moon on Shiva's head. And basically, I was like, listen, I could not handle like everybody calling me this my whole life. And yeah, so when I was 14 or something, I put that official Gazette notification in the newspaper, and I was like, I am changing my name, and my name will now be Shiv Gupta. And that's all. And the whole thing is that when I decided to become a DJ, yeah, a good question also. Prem Joshua had actually released his album Shiva Moon, and that was like fucking. I love that fucking album, man. It was like kept like freaking listening to it like on like repeat. And then I remember I got a gig, and Karun from Hybrid UV, who's the decor guy for Hilltop and everything or whatever, both of us were playing at that gig, and we both did not have DJ names. It was like our first gig. Like, it was like, we're like, oh, we don't have DJ names. What do we call ourselves? And then Karun's like, and I was like, Karun's like, I'll call myself Shiva Moon. Then I was like, no, I should be Shiva Moon actually, because my name is actually Shiva Moon. And we had this whole like discussion. He's like, okay, you be Shiva Moon, and I'll be like something else. I forgot what he called himself at that point. And it just started from that particular party. And I remember it was me, Karun, and this guy Ritesh, who's an amazing DJ from the 90s. From Pune, Bombay, but he died unfortunately somewhere like 4 or 5 years later. So three of us played that party, and actually Ritesh taught us a lot as well. It was quite interesting.
What was this party?
It was like it was a beach house psytrance rave thing that we kind of like played at.
In Bombay?
No, it was in Chennai actually. It was in Chennai,
amazing.
Yeah. Like in the 90s, yeah.
In the 90s.
Late 90s, yeah.
In the late 90s.
Yeah, 99, 2000, somewhere there.
You used to find these raves and psytrance parties.
We didn't find them, we organized them.
Yeah, but I'm saying as an audience perspective, right? Most audience that you get at a rave at that time were people who would find looking for an om, looking for
little psychedelic mushrooms in the corner, like arrows and stuff like that. But the thing is that what we did was that we were like more inspired by the Goa culture. And the thing is that, like I said, I started.
How did you keep it authentic?
That's what I'm saying. The thing is that we had SAE, which was where like me and say Kamchor and Boom Baba and these guys, Tarun and all studied. And we had an amazing like group of people who were just like all into music, and like psytrance was huge then. So we all just like got together, made our own parties, and we were just trying to replicate what we were really experiencing in Goa when we came here in December, January, this, that, whatever. And the thing is, the first Goa parties were actually very inclusive, as in like whatever. They would not easily allow Indians into it unless you were like a decent person or whatever. Because there's a lot of whatever stigma back then, and Indians are this and Indians are that. But luckily we got absorbed, and we never faced any kind of like weirdness from anybody. And yeah, that's how it kind of started. We were just trying to replicate the same thing.
Would you say that your friends, Tarun and Kamchor and everybody has inspired and shaped your music in a way?
Actually, yeah, I would say psytrance wise, I have my own, we all have our independent styles or whatever. But Ashwin is somebody who probably really got me into this whole techno vibe when he opened Superb Records. Ash Roy as well. They share all their music with me. Guys like Udav and Amrit also kind of like grew up in Chennai. They used to come to my studio in Chennai. So I've seen them from a young age, and they make amazing music. So I played a couple of Amrit's tracks. I played a couple of like, all these guys. I love playing all their music. And yeah, the Indian guys, they make me happy, man. As in 50% of myself, I think, is just like Indian artists only.
If you had to say top 5 Indian artists for our viewers, if they want to go and listen, who would you say they should go and check
out? In what
out?
Space?
In your sounds.
In like techno or psytrance or whatever.
Techno, psytrance, psytech.
Oh, I would say, yeah, good question. Yeah, definitely check out Udav from Subtrail. Check out Kamchor, obviously, he's a legend, he's an old timer.
These are very popular names.
Yeah, okay, so you don't, so Udav, yeah, exactly. I only know popular people. What am I supposed to say?
Upcoming artists that you have an eye on, you think their music can be evolved or can go somewhere. Like, yes, Udav and Amrit. Do you have any other
strangely being whatever, I'm actually more into people who are doing like kind of live sets, and it's not so much about like chasing DJs and DJ sets anymore, because like the thing is, I would say like even the DJ thing is kind of like everybody's a DJ these days or whatever.
If there's a new upcoming live artist that you should say that people should keep a lookout on.
New upcoming live artists that people from India.
From India.
Interesting. Good question. Uh, yeah, the thing is, I don't know, man. It's like I just go back to the same names again. I'm finding it hard. Like I also like, dude, I'm like my memory is terrible, and whatever. I would not able to like put one name down or that. So I will like just say, there's a bunch to check out. Do your own research and find who you like.
If you had one advice to give musicians who are starting out in the music scene, what would it be?
Oh,
After so many years of making festivals and all
yeah.
kinds
So
of
the whole thing
things.
is that whatever, like be realistic about everything always. Do whatever you can within your budget. If you feel that it's not really like clicking for you or you're not doing well, don't keep fighting it. Do other things as well. The main thing is for you to like be comfortable and lead a comfortable life and not struggle whether you're a musician or this or that or whatever. So I would say give music its due priority, give it its due attention, and work hard towards it. But also don't depend on it completely because one day you can be a hero, one day you can be a zero, and you have to take the good times with the bad times and just like deal with it.
You think musicians should have a day job?
Uh, Not necessarily. Like I said, there's enough options in the music industry itself without having to have a day job. Like I said, you could work with music brands. You could be like Marty and Amrit. Now you can teach music. You can do this. You can do that. So yeah, I think there's multiple options in the industry itself.
Who are your biggest inspirations in music?
Hard to say. To be honest, I'm actually more inspired by music from like the 60s and 70s and psychedelic rock and
Give
this
me
and
names.
that. Like Hendrix and Floyd and this, and pretty much everything. And I love like even like glam rock and 80s shit and this and that or whatever. So I would say that's what really inspires me musically. And in the electronic space, like I said, I feel like everybody has like very short term careers or whatever. But like David August is somebody I really respect. I love his live performances. And yeah, so anybody who does like killer live performances with like multiple musicians and old school psychedelic rock and like old school like even like Brit rock and like stuff like that is like my Oasis, Blur, yeah, whatever, Hendrix, and yeah, stuff.
Outside of music, what inspires you the most?
Yeah, so I love outdoor stuff. So anything to do with the beach, I love diving. Love skateboarding. I also ride this thing called the one wheel. We have this thing called Float Gang Goa. So yeah, I love surf skating. I have a carver. I was like checking out your board. And yeah, so that's that. These are like my fun things that I do. And we have this cool gang that we have called Float Gang. And we all like ride one wheels, we skateboard, we surf a bit.
This is in Goa.
It's in Goa. Yeah, you can
Where?
check us out on Instagram. I'll share the link with
Yes, please
you. Yeah.
do.
So yeah, we actually do events and activities. We've done like Royal Enfield Motorverse 2 years in a row, and Goa Surf Festival. When Antisocial was running, we're doing some events there. But yeah, if you know about it, you'll find out
I
about it.
do.
Yeah, so Marty's been a couple of times, I think.
Okay. Do you think your influences have changed over time?
Completely, it changes all the time.
How do
Like
you
I don't know, like maybe like next year I don't want to play techno anymore or something.
How do you keep your sound fresh?
Just keep playing new shit, keep playing different sounds. I don't restrict myself only to techno and psytrance or whatever. Like I have another project, it's just called Shiv G or whatever, which I play hip hop, I could play rock, I could play whatever. And the thing is I just keep it loose and open format basically.
If you go looking for music, where do you go for? If people want to go looking
Yeah.
for new music,
Yeah, so actually the good thing is like I said, because I've been in the industry for a while, I have a lot of friends, like even Xenon and stuff, we were talking about it. I have a lot of friends who actually run labels and are in the industry, whatever. I get a lot of music from the industry itself as like promos and this and that before they release it. As well as I just buy my music straight, like whether it's Beatport or Bandcamp or whatever. I just buy my music straight. I'm happy to pay the money for the music that I like because I believe the artist definitely needs to make money.
but how do you know that that's the music I want to buy? You definitely
No,
go
you
and
like,
listen
dude,
to
like, no, like for me, like,
where
like
do
I
you
said,
go
I
to
paid,
searching?
like, I had like maybe 20 tracks on my playlist today. I probably played like 14 or 15 of them. And I probably like went through about 3,500 tracks to get that 20 tracks in my playlist.
Do you
So
think it's homework every time
it
for
is,
you?
it is like in the end, that is what it is. Like you have to go, like if you're talking about pure DJing, whatever. You have to go through tons of music, and then also like your music has to be in key, your music has to be in tempo, your music has to be in multiple ways. So I think it's not just about picking 10 tracks and then playing them. You find 25 tracks out of 3,000 that actually go well with each other, then build a flow out of it.
And after being a seasoned musician, what do you think about the people coming into music right now? Do you get like, do you think they need DJ like formal training or
Yeah, I think the equipment has got so like uh, fancy and like easy to use, like with sync buttons and this and that. So even like what is happening today, like I think a lot of DJs are struggling a bit because I think the sync was like throwing things off or whatever. But I found that if I didn't use the sync button, I also had like one or two issues or whatever. If I didn't use the sync button, I just went to like traditional old school DJing where I'm matching the tempos and using pitch and everything. I did not have an issue actually. And I feel the thing is that the technology has got so good right now, it's actually made DJing a lot easier. Now, if you look at like what the hell we played on, like the Pioneer CDJ 100s and the Denon 2600 or whatever, you like bending tracks like that and everything. And you know, like you could just the display is like this big. There's no like track names and all, just like numbers over there and you know, time and whatever. And yeah, it's like if you grew up DJing on that shit, like this is like peanuts, man.
uh,
So
if you,
I think technology has actually become so much easier that the guys are not spending time in learning deeper on how to mix. It's more like, oh yeah, just hit the sync button or cue the track there. All your cue points are already set, like record box. You can just say this is the beginning of the track, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's like more of an autopilot that's happening right now. While the old school boys or whatever in the old school days, whatever was actually proper DJing, man. Like you were like fighting the tracks basically.
I've heard that in at that time you had these DAT tapes you used to put pencil
Yeah.
and roll around.
No, so I've actually done something close to that. But the whole thing is like Goa Gill was the pioneer, basically playing on that tapes. Domino, another old school DJ who's a friend of ours, and everything. So she also played on that. And they
Domina,
no Domino, DJ Domino.
old timer.
Yeah, and she was a Goa kid. She was pretty much I don't know, I forgot her background, but she's Mandy's daughter. Mandy used to run a shop in the flea market. She grew up in Goa. And Domino and Goa Gear used to play a lot on DATs. We started on actually, there's a whole era we had like these, I don't know, get the names. It's like MDs or it's like mini disc.
Mini disc.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
mini
yeah. So
discs.
we tried that for a little while, but I always found my love in CDs because it's easy to download music and burn them, this and that. Tried vinyl also for a while, but could not carry like large bags filled with vinyl and everything. So yeah, I never did the DAT thing. I've done MDs, I've done like CDs, this and that, whatever. But yeah, actually one party I remember I played up when I was a kid. We actually had a guy like sitting below us, and he would rewind the tape on a Walkman, and like he's hearing it, and he's like giving, he's like, play from there, play from there. So I did that once, but yeah, that's about it.
What's the weirdest song request you've ever received while DJing?
It's always like some David Guetta shit or some crap like that, World Hold On or some crap like that. Yeah.
What do you say to people?
Or Avicii or some shit
What do
like
you say
that.
to
Levels,
people?
Avicii levels, you have that. But yeah, I haven't got that in a while. Like now, I'm also very picky about what gigs I do and which promoters I work with. So I don't have to deal with this kind of nonsense. I'd rather not do a gig than like go to like some commercial club and then try to play a psytrance set or techno set or whatever. Yeah.
If you could book any artist, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I guess Hendrix for sure, dude. Yeah, I just like the whole Hendrix acid psychedelic vibe.
If you could go back to the past,
Hmm.
where would you go? Anywhere.
Woodstock. Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
1969
I knew
Woodstock.
that was coming.
So,
That's why
no,
I asked this
and the whole thing
question.
is like even organizing festivals. I was like I watched that Woodstock movie from a very early age, and that really kind of influenced my whole thought. So yeah, and even everybody who performed at Woodstock in that particular year, outstanding performances. It's just crazy. Like every single performance there. Yeah.
Festivals.
Mm.
When you would choose a lineup, what was going through your head when you would pick artists to book for your lineup?
Yeah, so the thing is that you can't just all book like big names or whatever. You need to have a proper balance where you have like top tier artists, you have younger, newer people, you have middle level guys. The other thing is all the music needs to flow with each other. It's not like you can put like one techno guy and then one indie dance guy, then one house guy or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. you're really trying to have, like, if my festival ran from like 12 p.m. to like 4, 5 a.m. or whatever, blah, 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 you're trying to build a flow. So the afternoons are like more chilled out, some live acts, this, that, whatever. And then it'll get like harder and harder as we went on. End in psytrance, then we had an after party that would then be techno, etc. Yeah.
Do you think it is important for Indian artists to be recognized in homegrown festivals? If you had a artist come from outside, and you have an Indian artist who's probably more famous, or let's not say more famous, has a different style of music compared to the artist who's coming first,
Yeah.
who would get the slot first?
Oh, dude, to be honest, it's really dependent on the promoter or something. I 100% believe, obviously, if somebody is coming from outside and he's some kind of rare thing that is there, he should be obviously given the preference. And the Indian artist should obviously, whatever thing. But in the end, it could be the guy from outside is not as qualified as the Indian artist. And the Indian artist should definitely get the spotlight then.
Do you think Indian artists get enough recognition?
I think they get too much recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should get more recognition outside. They get too much recognition. They need to go outside more. I'm actually happy. I think Indian artists are actually traveling outside more also, playing at European festivals. This has become a big thing now. So like when I first started doing it in like 2005, 2006, there were like some 3 Indian artists that were traveling to Europe every year. And you pretty much knew everybody like at that point. But now I think like they have a lot more opportunity. They're doing really well. But yeah, I think they get enough recognition, man.
If you could
I think they make enough money also.
if you could remix any artist, I mean any song from any era, which one would it be?
Oh, good question. Song from any era.
Any song.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I said I keep going back to like classic rock or like song. No, but I would never remix a classic rock song.
Are you a rock and roller at heart?
I'm a hardcore, like heavy metal was my big thing, like rock and roll, whatever.
One
blah, blah.
band that you will constantly listen to in heavy metal or rock and roll, except Jimi Hendrix. We know that.
Maiden, Iron Maiden. Yeah.
What is the one takeaway session?
Tool.
Takeaway from the Tool.
Tool.
Wow.
The Tool.
What is the one takeaway from today's session that you are going to take with you?
Good question. Yeah, I thought I was gonna struggle a little bit with some issues or whatever, and it was not my easiest set. I definitely struggled at a couple of points or whatever, but I'm happy I understood what was going wrong, so I could fix it like as it went wrong in the future tracks or whatever. So that actually made me feel better about myself, and I'm also happy with the fact that I could actually just like not use all the technology on the players and just like play a very old school style, like DJ said, moving my pitch up and down and this and that and bending and keeping tracks in line and all that. So yeah, I think I worked a lot harder today than I usually work.
You looked a lot happier today.
No, I started off like I was so dead, man. I went to sleep at 6 in the morning. I had some friends in town and everything, and like I was totally dead. I was like, how am I going to pull this off? And yeah, I'm okay with it. I'll give myself an 8 on 10. I won't give myself a 10 on 10. I'll give myself an 8 for 2 mistakes that I made, but yeah. And then one point. But every DJ actually is allowed to make a few mistakes as long as the crowd does not notice it.
Amazing. You think the crowd will notice these mistakes?
I think maybe one. Maybe one, yeah. I think like Amrit or Mari were like, over there. Maybe one. But even that one, I think I pulled off with some panache. I used some wash effect and this and that. So I think I pulled it off. Let's see.
If you could describe Voice Studios in 3 words.
Oh, it looks great, man. I'm actually really happy that these guys have done it. I love the fact that they're all like guys I've known for a while from Chennai and everything. And they're all like kind of like me, moved here, trying to make a living from music and this and that and everything. And I think they've done a really professional job. I like the way everything is laid out and all that. And I definitely will be supporting them with whatever I can in terms of like industry stuff and brands and whatever and all that. And I really wish them the best. I think they've done a good job. And they're also equipped to teach people. Like I've known these guys for a while. They make good music. They're well known in their field and everything. And they'll be great teachers. I see a great DJing course happening over here. I see a great music production course happening here. I'd also love to contribute and like kind of be like a mentor or something and help them along this thing or whatever. So yeah, I see good things happening here.
Thank you for letting us have you. And it was great to have a conversation with you. You've been listening to Noise Convo, brought to you by Voice Entertainment. I'm Neha Menon. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their journey and to you for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and always keep it noise.